We've all been sold this really comforting story about globalization, right? The idea is that opening up borders is just this guaranteed path to prosperity. It's the classic rising tide lifts all boats narrative. But, well, the data tells a completely different story. Today, we're diving into a brutal reality check that honestly shatters pretty much everything we thought we knew about international trade. Let's get right into it.
So, ask yourself this fundamental question. Does free trade actually help local businesses grow? Do you buy into the beautiful myth? Because we hear it constantly from politicians, and it's taught as absolute gospel in business schools. Just open the borders, drop the tariffs, and boom, your local factory suddenly has the whole world as its customer base. I mean, it sounds perfect, doesn't it? Like this endless runway for growth. But here is the slap-in-the-face reality. That myth promises everyone gets rich together. The brutal, undeniable truth, though, globalization definitely doesn't help everyone. In fact, for like 90% of businesses, it's literally an absolute slaughterhouse. Free trade is not some friendly, open competition. When you actually look at the numbers, it's a financial bloodbath for the average company. All right, moving into section 1, uncovering French firm data. So to really understand why this myth falls apart, we can't just rely on neat little economic theories that pretend all companies are identical. We need cold, hard facts. And a team of top-tier researchers did just that. They ripped the lid off decades of data, over 230,000. That is the exact number of individual French manufacturing firms they analyzed. They tracked every single transaction, domestically and across 113 different countries. And doing this at such a massive scale, it completely removes the guesswork. And man, this instantly destroys our first big illusion about globalization. Out of those 230,000 firms, guess how many actually managed to sell anything abroad? Only a tiny elite sliver, about 34,000. Meanwhile, over 196,000 firms never even leave France. They literally do not participate in the global market at all. So right off the bat, we see that the global pie is strictly reserved for a very small fraction of companies. But wait, it actually gets worse. Even for that tiny elite group who do export, their foreign sales are incredibly small. We're talking a total drop in a bucket compared to what they sell back home. Their footprint abroad is shockingly low almost everywhere. So that dream of a local business just easily conquering the globe overnight, yeah, the data says that's pretty much pure fiction. Okay, section 2, the 2 rules of survival. So if it's really that impossibly hard to succeed, what actually separates the winners from the massive pile of losers? Well, here is the ruthless 3-step gauntlet you have to run. Step 1, core efficiency. Basically, can you produce incredibly cheap while staying lean? Step 2, fixed entry costs. Can you afford the massive toll it takes to navigate customs and build foreign supply chains? And finally, step 3, market luck. Because even if you are wildly efficient, you still need to know, do local buyers actually want what you're selling? 57%. Your core efficiency alone dictates 57% of your destiny in international trade. Think about that. Before you even worry about marketing or currency exchange rates or local foreign tastes, your fundamental ability to just produce efficiently decides if you live or die. If you aren't already a hyper-efficient machine at home, you have exactly 0 chance of surviving abroad, period. Which brings us to section 3, the 10% tariff drop experiment. Let's see what happens when the rules change. To see what actually happens when policies shift, the researchers ran this simulation. They artificially lowered global trade barriers by 10% within their data model. And this is exactly the kind of policy politicians are pushing for every single day in the name of economic growth. And the macro result? Total sales across the board absolutely skyrocket by over $16.4 billion. Now, if you stop reading the data right here, you're popping the champagne, right? The economy grew. This is exactly the number you'd see flashing on the evening news. But let's look a little closer. Section 4, the brutal winner-takes-all truth. Because here is the ultimate counterintuitive punch. We know there's $16.4 billion in brand new money floating around, right? But the top 10% of firms don't just take a slice of it. They swallow $22.4 billion. Wait, how is that mathematically possible? Well, because the bottom 90% don't just gain 0, they actually bleed out. They lose massive amounts of revenue. So while older economic models might have predicted this nice, smooth distribution of wealth, this specific firm-level data shows the elite winners taking more than 100% of the net gains. They are literally sucking the lifeblood right out of the bottom 90%.
And to put that into perspective, here are the horrifying casualties of this supposedly beneficial 10% tariff drop. Import competition acts like a relentless executioner. 11.5% of all firms are wiped out completely. Bankrupt. Gone. Nearly 50% of the absolute smallest firms completely destroyed. And domestic sales inside the country crash by an incredible $18 billion. The foreign giants just rush in and completely crush the local small businesses. The contrast here is practically sickening when you look at it. The untouchable top 1% of megafirms suffer exactly zero casualties. Nothing. They wildly expand and just devour global market share. Meanwhile, down in the bottom 10%, half of them are completely wiped off the map by cheap imports. So it's really not a rising tide. It's much more like a tsunami that drowns small shops while carrying the megafirms to terrifying new heights.
You know, the researchers didn't mince words about this either. Here is their aggressive, inescapable conclusion directly from the paper. The decline in trade barriers improves the performance of the very top firms at the expense of the rest. Just let that sink in for a second. According to this massive data set, free trade isn't some magical tool for universal growth. It's a weapon. And it's a weapon wielded by the ultra-efficient top 1% to absolutely crush everyone else.
Which really leaves us with a fundamental, honestly, unsettling question. Based on the brutal reality of this data, if you aren't already a hyper-efficient megacorporation sitting in that top 10%, is free trade really your friend? It completely flips everything we thought we knew about globalization right on its head. So definitely think about that the next time you hear a promise that open borders will seamlessly help local businesses. Anyway, thank you for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you